You know how fast you were going?
What? How fast you were going?
I don't know. 10?
8.
Be advised, this is an explicit podcast. If you're easily offended, get your panties twisted into a knot. Leave now. Run in your safe space. Get your little cloth for your tears. All the opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and his guest and do not reflect the opinions of any local or government agency. Welcome to Motor Cop Chronicles podcast. Host as always, the Iceman. Hope everybody had a good week. This will be released on Sunday. We're recording on a Friday afternoon. And Duke the dog has got me upset because I walked him and we come inside and I was in here working on something and walk out there to bring the guest in and he done shit on the floor. So that's something else I got to clean up, bastard. But I guess it's the perks of having Duke the dog. Let's get the housekeeping out the way as normal. We're going to shout out our Clubhouse members, of course, and Patreon. We got Mr. Hoppy Hopson. I always do that. I don't know if he's out driving or not. We have Christopher DeMars. We have Mr. Z Palmer. We have the one and only Laura Stimson. We got Roy Spalding, not Roy P. Roy Spalding. We have a favorite girl from Australia, JoJo. We have Kaylee Norris. We have Natasha A., our friend from up in Washington State, and our first Patreon Clubhouse member, Miss Melissa Holstein. We appreciate all of y'all. Appreciate all the other ones also. Help me pay some of the bills around here to keep the podcast going. Y'all go like and subscribe. If you're on Apple, write a review. We ain't had one in a while. Write a 5-star review. I'll shout it out on here. Follow on Facebook, YouTube. So when we do live shows, hit the little notification bell so you'll be alerted when we go live. I usually say you can go find me on TikTok. They got me pissed off if you listen to past episode, but it's at DirtyD07. If you want to follow on TikTok, I go live on there. Well, sometimes. I don't know if I will much since we've been having issues with them. If you'd like some Motor Cop merchandise, and there's Duke the dog. If you'd like some Motor Cop merchandise, go to Etsy. Motor Cop Chronicles podcast on Etsy. I have t-shirts. I'm going to put some other stuff up there soon. If you want to support the show that way. And they're dirt cheap as you can get them. If you enjoy a great cigar and like to support small businesses, U.S. entrepreneurs, go to mypatriotcigar.com. mypatriotcigar.com. Use my promo code MotorCop15 and you will get 15% off your entire order. If you order $100 or more, you will get free shipping. Alan, they ship out very fast. Like I got mine, I think 2 days after I ordered them. Like I said, great cigars, United States company. So even if you don't smoke cigars, get some for some friends for Christmas presents stuff coming up. It's like a good Christmas present to me. You don't have to spend no money on this. We got the private Facebook page, the Clubhouse. That is the and then club and house, all separate words. You can find it that way. It's a private Facebook page. Go in there, answer 3 simple questions. If they're correct, I will let you in. You can be an active member of the Clubhouse that way. And, we go back and forth in there pretty good also. So without further ado, we do have a guest. It's a her. She is not law enforcement, but she has been married to a cop for a long time. we're going to call her Mama Bear. And we're just going to, in this episode, it's going to be a little different. We're going to talk about how it is being married to a cop, like married to the badge, married into this profession. Because I believe that when the spouses are neck deep in this shit as much as we are. So let's get her on. Welcome to the show, Mama Bear.
Thank you for having me.
She was a little worried at first that we were going to be live. I said, no, I don't do that to people. But, so how long you been married?
We've been married almost 20 years.
It's 20 years. She must be a good woman, or he's just, easy to get along with.
No.
On which one?
Yes. Marriage takes work. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, I think y'all have 12 children, you said?
4.
4 children. I'm just a little bit off.
Just a little.
And the youngest one's 10, 8?
6.
6. Yeah, well, Lord help y'all. My youngest is 28. So,
do you want a 6-year-old?
No.
Are you sure?
I've known y'all a long time, and I'm around functions and stuff, and I've met the 6-year-old. And it's hard to pawn off a child that some other people have observed.
Touche.
I mean, the last time I was around, I believe there was a little tiff going on over a chair.
Yes, and that was with the teenager and the 6-year-old.
Yes, over a chair. And he was being pretty stubborn about that. I even tried to bribe him to get out of the chair with one of those little finger fit widget things. So my main thing is what I want to talk about is, of course, how long has your husband been a cop? No, he's been a cop. I've known him a long time, so he's been a cop a long time.
12 years.
12 years, and so he's been with the same department. So let's just get into how was it at first when he decided to be a cop? What did you think of it then?
I did not like it. It was very hard. It was a very hard transition for our family. Just the hours were a lot to get used to.
He was working night shift.
He was working nights, yes.
They do 12s. How long was he on nights?
2 years.
That's not too bad. They've got people that done way more than 2 years. Then he transitioned to days. He started on the road or reserve.
He started the reserve for 2 years, so he was working his regular job during the day and then doing the reserve at night. And then after 2 years, he went full time with the department.
We're not going to say what, but he's in specialized division now finally. But I know it took him a while to get there. So the reason you didn't want him to go into it at first, was it just because the hours or him working nights, or it was part of the danger, or what?
I don't really remember. I mean, it was a change, and I knew he was unhappy with what he was doing, so I was going to support him no matter what he did. It's a lot of, we had young children at the time, and I wasn't totally on board with the dangers associated with the job.
Yeah, well, it could definitely be dangerous. You're just staring at me. So I'm sure there's been a lot of birthday parties, Christmases, a lot of holidays missed because he was working or he was sleeping.
There is. We tend to be very non-traditional, so we plan everything. I learned to plan everything around his schedule. So we do Thanksgiving. We do Thanksgiving before or after. Same with Christmas. We'll celebrate the weekend before, the weekend after, days before, days after. And all birthdays, we planned any parties around his schedule. That way he was always there for events.
Well, that's good that y'all could work around it like that.
Yeah, we even came up with a backstory that for Christmas with Santa Claus, because when we would do Christmas before Christmas, we told the kids that their daddy had to deal with Santa, and because he was a cop, he would shoot anybody that comes in his house. So we had to deal with Santa, that we would take care of our family, and Santa didn't have to come to our house. We would take care of it.
Okay.
So that's what we've been telling them for all these years now, and that's what's passed on to the now 6-year-old, is he believes that if Santa comes to our house, his daddy would shoot him, so he doesn't come to our house.
Well, that's good. And Duke is making noise once again. And he actually has a decent, well, I say decent, the job he's in now requires him to work quite a few weekends during the summer month, don't it?
It does. But it's better than being uniform patrol. I mean, we have a lot more peace in our house because there's less stress. There's less stress with his job, so there's less stress coming into the house. So things are a lot calmer and safer with him being in the division he's in.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it is. Probably less paperwork also.
Yes. A lot less phone calls.
Well, I know when I was a sergeant before, my phone was ringing all the time.
Yeah, that was something I had to get used to, was just because the shift was over and he was home, that didn't mean that he was actually done for the day. There was always the phone calls about calls that occurred, whether it was to other people he worked with or higher ups that he had to get in touch with, and it was the never-ending phone calls that took a lot to get used to.
Yeah, especially when you get, people calling, bitching about you and stuff.
Yep, he had his share of those.
So, other than that, I mean, what about some of the pressures of it? I know other cop. I want to kind of talk about everybody out there, especially in news media and stuff like that, and everybody's heard me touch on it some. Is that the thin blue line thing and all this stuff like that. Of course, I use backgrounds with it. I got all that stuff, but everybody thinks it's unbreakable thin blue line, which is so not true. Especially, back in the day, it used to be a whole lot stronger. It's got a whole bunch of holes in it, right? So, because people don't understand that, cops will, now, especially nowadays, they got cops out there that will stab each other in the back in a heartbeat. And if you're not, let me explain, I don't know, put it in a nice way, because I'm not trying to dog out anybody at all, but people have this perception of it. And basically, some departments are way worse than others now, but I believe in all departments there's a certain amount of, it's almost like being back in high school. You have your popular kids,
Yes.
and then you just have everybody else. And if you're not in the popular group, you're just everybody else. While you see all the popular kids get all the good assignments, get reassigned, get promotions, get this and get that, and here you are, no matter how much you bust your ass or do a good job, and you just get kind of stuck because you're not a popular kid.
I have to agree with that it really is. I don't think it means what it did, but I think that plays into how the society is as a general now. It used to be everybody had everybody's back, no matter what. You grew up, you worked together. The expression, it takes a village. Everybody had to work together. Now everybody's out for themselves almost. So I'm going to agree that there are a lot of holes in it. It's not the solid, thin blue line.
No,
it is a very cliquey, but you find that in all organizations and trades and jobs around the world, is the whole cliquey thing.
Yeah, I don't care where you could go work at McDonald's, and I'm not dogging anybody that works at McDonald's. It's a greasy job. Somebody's got to do it. But I'm just saying, you could have certain managers at McDonald's that have their favorite crew people, their employees, and the other ones are going to get the shit job.
Yep.
They're like, let's say, somebody comes in and, doing fries is better than doing burgers. I don't know. But I'm just saying, so they're going to give the fry job to the ones they like and give the burger job to the ones that they could care less about.
Very much.
You got any funny stories that he's come home with from him being on the job?
He had one where he was dispatched to a call because the neighbor's duck kept coming in their front yard and they were scared. So they needed the cops out there to make the neighbor keep the duck in their own yard because they were scared of the duck.
What kind of duck was it?
I have no idea.
Was it one of them white ducks?
I don't know.
Was it one of them ducks with the red stuff on its face?
He just came home and told me, "You won't believe what I did today."
So did he write the duck a summons?
He probably should have, because it was roaming around like, ducks do.
They were scared of. I mean, it might have been a vicious duck.
I doubt that.
I've seen some mean ducks before. Them ducks with the red stuff on their face, they can,
Geese are vicious. Ducks are not.
Geese can be very mean.
Geese are assholes.
I was out feeding some Canadian geese, one of these new subdivisions around here. This was years ago, and they had like flocked in or something. I mean, there was like herds of them out there, and I was out there feeding them bread, and I ran out of bread.
And they attacked you, didn't they?
And they were not happy that I was out of bread, and they started hissing at me. I ran back in the house before I died from, I could just see me, being killed by a flock of geese, Canadian geese. And I thought Canadians were supposed to be like really, really
They are. Their
nice
geese are
people.
Not. Geese are assholes.
Yes. So, but he had a duck. That call was just totally ducked up there, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
It was as bad as that dog raping complaint I had a long time ago. But I know your husband stays fairly busy.
He stays very busy.
Yeah, because I didn't know he had a detail tonight. I was like, "Where's your husband?" She's like,
Yes.
"He's working. He's got to go make some money because I like to spend it."
Yes, hunting season's coming up, and he's got to get his hunting license and all the stuff associated with that. So he's got to work a little extra to have that money.
Did he kill anything last year?
Time.
So I never understood the people's like, "Oh, because I don't deer hunt. I don't even hunt at all anymore. I used to hunt, but it was like it's like no, I'll eat the deer." But I'm not, as long as I can, which that might change under our administration, but as long as I can go to the store and buy meat, I'm not going to go hide in a tree and freeze my balls off to wait to try to shoot a deer where I've been putting corn out for it. Come on now.
To each their own.
I mean, I'll eat the deer. I love me some deer meat, especially some backstrap. But I used to go out and shoot tree rats all the time.
We like to squirrel hunt. My 10-year-old loves squirrel hunting.
So, do y'all barbecue the squirrel, or just make a squirrel soup?
It depends on what we feel like. I can do a squirrel stew. We can grill it. You can fry it. You can do almost anything with squirrel.
You must sound like Forrest Gump there.
Oh, sorry.
We got squirrel pizza. We got squirrel stew. You could have squirrel sandwiches. You could have squirrel on a stick. They call that chicken on a stick in the Chinese restaurant. You could have pineapples and squirrel, fried squirrel, boiled squirrel. You could leave the heads on it too.
You could, but that's just warped.
I went to made me think of way back when I was working out of state for a while, and I was staying. This guy I was staying with, they were island people. Not sure which island it was. It wasn't Hawaii, but it was some island people. The big guys, like I don't know if they were Samoans or what, but I don't know. They were the big guy. But anyway, he took me. I didn't know anybody where we got out of state, and he took me to one of their functions, and they had made a big stew, kind of fish stew. I mean, I'm from Louisiana. We eat about anything down here, but I had never eaten that before. And I ate. I just didn't eat part of it because I could do.
Did it have the eyeballs in it?
It had fish heads in it. It was a fish head soup, and when I scooped up in there and pulled it up, it had fish heads in it, and it still had eyeballs and stuff. And I just kind of like didn't make sure none of the fish heads got in my food. I mean, it had good flavor, but I just could not see myself gnawing on damn, that was a good eyeball.
Yeah, I'll pass on eyeballs. I'll try almost anything. I'm passing on eyeballs.
I mean, I ate the head soup, the juice. I just didn't eat any of I left the fish heads alone. I mean, I've eaten sardines and stuff that had head, but these were like these were full grown fish. It was like looking at me. Like, no, I couldn't do it.
Yeah, I couldn't do it either.
So, I can understand not wanting to eat squirrel heads, squirrel brains, or something like that.
Yeah, I'll pass on that. There's people that eat them, but we don't.
Well, cats love squirrel brains.
I know. Cats like almost anything.
So, this one's a little bit different for me. I'm not used to doing spouses, okay? So, you people out there listening got to bear with me.
Well, I can talk a little bit about the things that a wife has to learn that the cop doesn't always think about, and should give the spouse a little bit of grace.
That sounds fantastic. Just go right ahead.
So one of the things I had to learn is when you're walking in public, there is a correct way to walk and an incorrect way to walk. You don't ever think about it. Now it becomes habit, but in the beginning you have to learn you always walk on the non-gun side. If he carries his gun on the right side, you walk on the left. If he's left-handed, you walk on the right. And you learn whenever you're out in public, if you want to hold hands, you hold the non-gun hand. It's just something that, as a spouse, we had to learn to do. When you go out to a restaurant, anytime you go anywhere where there's seating, my kids had to learn when we go in, Dad always sits down first. Because cops always have to sit in their particular spot where they can see. I see you shaking your head.
Well,
they got to see the door.
I still, my stepdaughter, she's like, I'm like, get up. I'm like, nope, I'm sitting there. She's like, well, I like, we got to go through this again. Just move.
Yeah, my kids have learned whenever people will look at us funny, but when we go in someplace, everybody waits until he takes his seat, and then we sit wherever we feel like it. But that's some of the things that I had to learn, was that I never get to sit looking at the door anymore. If I'm out with him, I can never look at the door. My back is always to it. And it's adjusting your life around the cop to make the cop's life easier. So keeping any drama, any family stuff that's going on to a minimum, because you never know what they're dealing with out on the road. So when you walk in the door and it's like verbal spewage coming at you, that's because we've kept it in all day until we know you made it home safe.
What about, like I said, when he comes home, you kind of tell he had a bad day, but he don't want to talk about it?
Always. And that's when the kids even know you just give him his space and just take the cues from him. If he wants to talk, he'll talk. If not, if he wants to stay holed up in the room, you let him stay holed up in the room.
He never come home smelling like a dead body or nothing, has
When he has those calls, he will call and give me the heads up and say, hey, have the trash bag ready. And he'll strip under the carport into the trash bag, and he'll go get in the shower, and I'll go ahead and start the laundry of whatever he's got on his clothes that day.
I've had to burn some clothes before. It's not nice.
We haven't burned any. I've learned there's several sanitizers out there that will even fight against the AIDS virus. So I wash thoroughly.
You gotta hate it when your husband brings AIDS home.
Yeah, that was not a good day.
Like, yeah, babe, I just brought a little bit of AIDS home. That
was not a good day, because that was one day he had to go hands on, and then found out after the fact that the suspect had active HIV. So that was not a pleasant.
No,
He come home and was quite pissed.
No, it's not nice when that stuff happened. I had somebody one time, like, after I put my hands on them and stuff, and arrested them, I had to put them on the car, and they were like, I have AIDS. Well, of course, I played the tough guy part. I said, and? After they left, I was like, fuck, I was checking myself for scratches and all that shit like that, but I was good to go.
Yeah, there was a Valentine's Day probably about 6 years ago now, because it was before the baby was born. And for the first time, I bought him a Valentine's Day gift. And it was a pot and a pair of tongs, because he had called me and said he had to wrestle a woman. And when he was detaining her, she pissed all over herself. And then he had to put her in the unit because she refused to cooperate. And so then he had to clean the unit, and he had her piss all over himself with his handcuffs and his shackles. So he had to boil them and sanitize them So I went and bought him his own little special pot and pair of tongs that now live in our cabinet. That is Daddy's pot that everybody knows. That's what Daddy uses to boil handcuffs and shackles with.
Yeah, don't mess with your daddy's pot.
No.
Just that's your dad's pot. Leave it alone.
That's it.
Yeah, I've come home and say you just really do have to mess with some nasty ass people out there sometimes.
Yes, you do.
Anything else you could think of? Like I said, this was a different one for me. So
No, it's just we have to deal as the spouse not only with what the cop deals with, because it comes home with them whether you intend it to or not. If they dealt with, let's say, the death of a child and they have children, that follows them home, that affects them. But we also have to deal with when we hear what family and friends have to say about cops or social media or what's in the news. And when you hear all this negativity, knowing that you're watching your loved one walk out the door into all this hatred, not knowing whether or not they're going to come home. So it's a very hard thing to live with.
what about it took my wife the longest time to get used to it, 'cause we'd be out places, especially if she liked LaSalle when I was out working, and she met me for lunch in places like that. And you're in full uniform, and she's like, "Why is everybody staring?" Da, 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 da. It's like it took a while just to get her to get used to it. Where I'm like, because I would get to the point where I know people are staring at me, but
we
really
feel
don't
them.
notice it.
We notice it, we feel it, it bothers us. And yes, it takes a very long time to get used to that. And then also the constant interruptions of people that want to come up and just ask a quick question.
Yeah. Oh, the I hate to bother you.
I hate to bother you,
But-
yes. Yes. I honestly, after 12 years, I don't know that I'm used to that yet. It still annoys me.
Yeah, I love that there. 'Cause I hate to bother you, but it's like, well, if you hate to bother me so bad, then why are you doing it? Or I like the ones like, well, can I ask you a question? Sure. Would you like to ask me another one? Because that was one you just asked me right there. So would you like to ask me 2 questions?
Oh, my goodness.
So it's like, yeah, go ahead. And they'll start asking something, or they're like, my
baby mama's daddy's uncle's cousin had this problem 7 parishes away. Can you do anything to help me?
Or I love when people come up and you'll be like eating something. Do you know what happened over the weekend? Nope. I don't have no clue what happened over the weekend, because now I will say, as a rookie cop, several people will when I was a rookie, I used to do it. Your husband might have done it. I'd have my radio on. I was always listening. Hell, as soon as I hit that mic saying I'm off duty, well, when I get home, as soon as I go home, my radio goes off, and I won't turn it on again until it is time for me to leave. So, to go back to work.
No, when his shift was over, when he finally made it home, that was it. The radio went off. He only knew what was going on as if his phone started blowing up.
Oh, I'm telling you, I just no. It's so he don't. I'm sure he don't listen to stuff like that anymore. For it, right?
I'm probably not. He does his job. He worries about his job and leaves the rest to the rest of the department.
What else can we talk about? I don't want to cut it short. How have your kids taken it? Has he ever get the call? I hope to God I wouldn't think he did, but he's never had to call you from the hospital or nothing, has he?
He has, actually. He was involved in an incident, and he called me, and I answered the phone, and I said, hello. He said, hey, don't freak out. So immediately I start freaking out, and he's like, don't freak out. I need you to meet me at the hospital. there was an incident. So I did. I actually beat them to the hospital because I was closer than they were. So
Did he go by Boo Boo bus, or did he just?
No, another deputy drove him in.
Okay, so it wasn't.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't bad. He did end up spending several days in the hospital, and that was. I have some amazing neighbors and support staff, which is for any cops out there. Your spouse needs a support system. It's very important that she has and you have a support group around you, that so when things happen, the incidentals happen, she has someone that she can rely on, and you have someone you can rely on that will help and step in, because I spent the time with him at the hospital and my kids were completely taken care of.
Well, that's good. Having good neighbors is also very nice, because I've lived places where I don't get along with my neighbors. Because, well, first of all, I don't even know my neighbors on one side of me now since they put a trailer park in. They could be nice or not. I don't know.
Well, our family's not really close to where we live, so having good neighbors helped.
I keep thinking of what is that, State Farm commercial? Like a good neighbor.
State Farm is there.
Yeah, that's all that kept going through my head at that point. So now, what you said, he's got what, 12 years?
12 years.
Vest in that stuff, so I'm assuming he's going to try to retire from this profession.
I hope so.
And like I said, I got 3 left. I'll be glad to get out. Yes, like I said, I didn't know. Well, she said about, like, well, where's your husband? And it's like he picked up a detail. Like I said, he had to make that money. And so how would you rate being married to the badge?
It sucks.
So all these badge bunnies and these TikTok women out there, it's like, oh, I want me a cop. I want me a cop.
They want to fuck a cop. That's all they want. They don't want a relationship. Craig was in full-time with the sheriff's office maybe 6 months, and a friend of mine who is married to a cop, she had been married to her husband for quite a few years and had more experience being a cop's wife. And she's like, it'll be okay. It's just going to take time. And I can vividly recall looking at her and going, I finally understand why cops have an 89% divorce rate. I get it now. Because it's very hard being married to the badge. Yeah,
because, like I said, as a spouse, you got to deal with it too. And unfortunately, I don't know why. I mean, like I said in a past episode, in my younger days, I was not the best person to be married to. There's a lot of temptation out there. And some of these, I don't know why some women are just, they will throw themselves at a man in uniform. And It's like I've learned through mistakes and, hurting people and stuff like that you just, just got to make good decisions. Well, I think I said it before. They say the grass is always greener the grass is not greener on the other side of the fence. The grass is greener on top of the septic tank where all the shit's at.
Yep.
Don't eat that grass. It's shitty grass. Like I said before, people need to think about, not just yourself. You got to think about that spouse at home and everything else. I think a lot of the issue is you being a cop, and I'm not making excuses for it whatsoever because it's not right. But I think what brings some of it on was you spend so much time away from home. Because especially if you're working nights, which I did for the longest time, when you're working nights and if you're married, and so you're working all night and you're sleeping most of the day, and basically when you're leaving for work, your wife may just be getting home, vice versa. So basically, you might see her every other weekend, and then you're still, once you're on that schedule, I know when I was, even on my days off on the weekend and stuff, I'd still sleep till about noon every day.
Yep.
My body stayed on that schedule. So, I mean, it's almost like you live with a roommate at some point. So you got to try to figure stuff like that out, or just don't get married.
Or just don't get married, or make sure that the person knows what they're what they're getting into.
Yeah, because like I said, it's not that because a lot of times they got to the spouses have to deal with department issue stuff too. Not saying because things that I have seen in the past where I saw a guy got called in and got in trouble for something that a girl that he was dating posted online. Like, I don't know if it was MySpace or Facebook. It was so long ago, but he was joking around. He had some shorts on, which I think probably everybody thought. He pulled the shorts up like they were, I don't know, French cut like Daisy Duke, and was joking around. When like that was, she took a picture of it. She put it on her page. Nothing to do with him, but he got called in over that, which had nothing to do. I mean, it was not his social media or nothing like that. He was on his own time. He didn't do nothing. But yes, I mean, so basically, once that you become a spouse, even dating somebody in law enforcement, I mean, it can.
You're held to the same standards whether you like it or not.
Oh yeah, yes. So be advised of that also. It's not all fun and games for the spouses either.
No, because even going back to some of the other stuff we discussed, the spouse lives through it with the cop. For example, most cops can tell you the first suicide they ever worked, right? Mm-hmm. Or the first child death they worked, right?
Oh, yeah.
A spouse can tell you the same thing. I can tell you the first death he worked. I can tell you the first suicide he worked. I can tell you the first child death he worked because we deal with the repercussions of how it affects them when they come home at night.
Well, what about, I don't know, what about your husband's sleep? Because I know does he talk in his sleep? Is he toss and turn
No,
after
he snores.
certain kind of calls or anything like that?
He does get restless. He'll move around in his sleep. If it's a very disturbing call, he is very restless when he sleeps.
I think today's Friday. I woke up, it was Thursday. I usually get up, my alarm set for 4:30 in the morning. Well, Thursday, I was up at 3 o'clock in the morning because something, I can't recall the whole dream, but I remember I was dreaming something about work. It might have been an old call or whatever. I don't know. It woke me wide awake and I was up. That's happened to me quite a few times. So, not as much now that I don't work active patrol, because when I was like active uniform patrol and you were responding to some of these calls and stuff, you think they're not in your head until you fall asleep and they come right back to you. So, well, I'm not gonna try to drag it out on her or nothing like that. It's just this was a different one. So I hope she was able to answer some questions or just give some insight on how it is being married to a cop. It's not all fun and games. It's not like what you see on TV and all that stuff. And cop wives can be some bitches too. When you go on the functions and stuff, you can ask my wife some certain functions. She's like, God.
They can be very catty.
Yes, she's like, I'm about to deal with some cop wives. I don't want to go.
Yes, some of them can be very, especially if they're married to someone of a higher rank. You can run into some real serious bitchiness.
I've noticed, like with something like that, it's like, let's say they're married to a sergeant or a lieutenant or a captain. It keeps going down. It's like they feel like, like they have a certain, their status is a certain status in the wife pecking order or something like that.
That's exactly what it is. That's why I avoid as much functions as many functions as possible.
Yeah, it's like a wife status pecking order or something, and it's like, okay, it's like, but it is a thing. It is a thing.
It is very much a thing.
Go hang out with, let's say somebody work for a police department. You go to a function and the chief is there and the chief's wife's there. Well, she feels like she is like the first lady. And it goes down the line. And if you're not, most like me, her husband, we're not even on the line. We're just kind of in the treading water on the side over there, it's like if the Titanic sank, they wasn't going to let us on the lifeboat. So,
Yep, we're not important enough.
No. So, but yeah, so that's a thing too. So it can be, like I said, it can. I don't think, TV, movies, and all this other stuff makes it out to be a whole lot more glorious being married to a first responder than not.
They do. They make it out to be very glorious, and it's not. It's hard. It's a lot of long hours put in by you as the spouse dealing with everything. A lot of long hours feeling like a single parent a lot of times.
Raising kids by yourself.
Right, and that's a lot of what it feels like a lot of times, because not only do you have the normal shift hours that can extend because, that last call at 5:50 and you're supposed to get off at 6, that call is going to last till 9 o'clock at night, but also any of the call outs that occur. And that takes its toll on the kids as well. And so it's not portrayed correctly being married to a first responder.
Oh no, it's not. So it is definitely it's not a hard life. I mean, that's for, especially like for firemen's wives. I mean, they go on 24s. So they don't even come home. Y'all hear Duke? He's licking the microphone, giving me kisses. He's in a rare mood tonight. Yeah, that was him again. I got dog. You shit on the floor, dude. Don't do that. I'm not mad at you. So we're gonna cut this one off. I hope y'all enjoyed Mama Bear. Y'all have to send something. Let me know how y'all like this episode. I'm trying to throw some other stuff in there. Trying to get some other information in, and let me know. Make sure you come back Wednesday for the live show. I don't know if there'll be any other in between there or not. You know how I am, but like I said, come check the live show out. I think we're going to pretty much have a full house. Remember to watch your partner's back, and to
give your spouses a little grace.
Yeah, if you're married to a first responder. I was going to use my outro, but my computer is turned off for some reason. Duke might have unplugged it. So we'll just use the other one. Remember to smile, because the Iceman could always be behind you.